Have you ever wondered what happens when a place accumulates so much evil, so much pain, and so much hatred that it simply becomes ingrained in the walls? What if I told you that there are doors that should never be opened, no matter how many lives are at stake on the other side? What would you do if you discovered that the fire wasn't the real danger, but rather what was trying to escape through it? My name is Richard, and I've been a firefighter for 15 years. 15 years putting out fires, saving lives, carrying people out of burning buildings. You think you've seen it all after so long. Charred bodies, children trapped in burning cars, people jumping out of windows. I thought I'd seen the worst that humanity and fate could offer. I was wrong, so terribly wrong. It was November 3rd, 2023, a Thursday. I remember because it was my daughter Emma's birthday. She was turning 7, and I had promised to get home early from my shift to go to the party. I had even bought that doll she wanted so much, hidden in my locker at the barracks. The call came in at 11:47 p.m. Fire in institutional structure. Blackwater Federal Penitentiary. Multiple inmates injured. Code red. All units available. Blackwater. Just hearing the name sent a chill down my spine. Everyone in the region knew Blackwater. It wasn't just any federal prison. It was the prison. The one that appeared in documentaries about America's worst criminals, serial killers, terrorists, the monsters that society locks up and throws away the key. But there was more to Blackwater. Rumors, whispers among police officers in bars, stories that prison guards told in hushed tones, absurd suicide rates among staff, prisoners found dead in their cells without explanation, a chaplain who went mad during a mass and gouged out his own eyes. Of course, they were just stories, urban legends, the kind of thing that springs up around dark places. At least that's what I told myself as the truck cut through the night toward that hell. The prison was 40 minutes from the city, isolated in the middle of a forested area. The road was a single one, winding between dark trees that seemed to lean over us like silent witnesses. There was no moon that night, only complete darkness, broken only by the red and blue lights of our vehicles. When Blackwater appeared on the horizon, my stomach clenched. The structure was immense, 5 stories of grey concrete, surrounded by 6-meter-high walls and watchtowers. But what disturbed me was the architecture. Blackwater had been built at the end of the 19th century, and it maintained that Gothic, almost medieval style. Narrow windows like slits, pointed towers, stone gargoyles on the edges of the roof that seemed to watch us, and the fire, God, the fire. Flames shot out of the third-floor windows, licking the exterior walls, illuminating everything with an orange and red glow that made the prison seem like a portal to hell. Thick black smoke rose in columns, blocking out the stars. "Jesus Christ," muttered Jake, my partner, beside me. "This is going to be ugly." Captain Morrison quickly assembled us. There were 3 teams, 12 firefighters in total. The smoke was toxic. We could see it on the scanners. We would need full breathing apparatus. Team Alpha, you go through the East Wing. Team Bravo, West Wing. Team Charlie, with me through the center. The fire started on the 3rd floor, Block D. According to the warden, there are 18 prisoners trapped in their cells. The guards managed to evacuate the other blocks, but the automatic cell opening system in Block D failed. How did it fail? I asked. Morrison hesitated. For a brief second, I saw something in his eyes. Fear, uncertainty. The doors simply won't open, neither manually nor electronically. We're going to need to use the cutting saws. This was strange. Prison emergency systems are designed with multiple redundancies precisely for situations like this. But there was no time to question it. We geared up quickly. Mask, air cylinder, helmet, axe, hose. Jake checked my equipment. I checked his. The usual ritual, absolute trust. "Be careful in there, everyone," Morrison said. And for the first time in 15 years, I heard his voice tremble. The director said there's something wrong with that fire. "Wrong how?" Jake asked. He didn't mean to say, just Pay attention." I walked through the main gate of Blackwater and immediately felt it. It wasn't the heat of the fire or the smoke. It was something deeper, a pressure in my chest, a feeling of being watched. The air there was heavy, laden with something I couldn't name. The guards who had evacuated were huddled outside, and as we passed them, I noticed their faces. It wasn't just fear, it was absolute terror. Some were crying. Others stared blankly into space. One of them was kneeling, praying compulsively, his hands clasped so tightly that his knuckles were white. "Don't go in." A grey-haired guard grabbed my arm as I passed. His eyes were wide, bloodshot. "For God's sake, let it burn. Let it all burn." A colleague pulled him back, muttering apologies. "Sorry, he saw things in there." I didn't have time to ask what. The interior of Blackwater was a labyrinth of narrow corridors, rows of cells and metal staircases. The emergency lights flickered weakly, creating shadows that danced on the walls. The fire was still concentrated on the third floor, but the smoke had already descended, making visibility almost nil. We climbed the stairs, our footsteps echoing in an uncanny way. The heat intensified with each step. Through the mask, I could hear my own heavy, rhythmic breathing. Second floor. The cells were empty, doors open, swinging slightly. On the walls, I could see graffiti, messages, some in languages I didn't recognize. Strange symbols, a pentagram, an inverted cross, phrases like, "He is coming" and "Free us," scribbled in something that looked like blood. "What the hell is this?" Jake whispered beside me. Third floor, the heat was unbearable now. The fire roared somewhere ahead, the sound like a living beast, growling and crackling. But there was another sound too, low, almost imperceptible beneath the noise of the flames, shouting. There are no cries of pain or despair. There are no cries for help. They were cries of jubilation, celebration, as if someone were laughing while it burned. "Team Charlie, we've arrived at Block D," Morrison said on the radio, "initiating rescue." Block D was different. I noticed it immediately. The other wings had that cold, industrial, efficient, modern prison look. But Block D was old. The cells were smaller, more claustrophobic. The bars were heavy iron, not steel, and the walls were covered in markings, scratches, deep ones, as if someone or something had repeatedly scraped its fingernails across the concrete for years. They formed patterns, symbols, distorted faces, and that word etched hundreds of times: freedom, Team Alpha on sight. Morrison's radio crackled. "Jesus Christ, are you seeing this?" "Seeing what?" Morrison replied. "The cells on the east side, the bodies." Radio silence. "Alpha, repeat. Which bodies?" More silence. Then static. Then a sound that chilled me to the bone. The sound of someone screaming into the radio, a scream so high-pitched and full of horror that Jake literally recoiled. "Alpha! Answer!" Nothing. Morrison looked at us. I saw the panic growing in his eyes. "Keep going. Get the prisoners out of those cells. Quickly." The fire was right ahead now, consuming the end of the corridor, but the nearest cells were still intact. You could see shapes inside, people, the prisoners. I approached the first cell, my flashlight cutting through the smoke, and then I saw the face. God help me, I saw the face. It wasn't human, not completely. The structure was there, eyes, nose, mouth, but everything was wrong. The skin was grey, stretched over the bones like an old parchment. The eyes were completely black, no iris, no white, just empty, and she was smiling. "Please," the thing whispered in the voice of the man trapped there. "Free me. I need to get out. I need to get out." Collected instinctively. "Richard," Jake was beside me. "What is it?" I looked again. His face was normal. A middle-aged man, frightened, coughing from the smoke. Just a terrified prisoner. I shook my head. "Nothing. Let's get him out of there." We grabbed the hacksaw and started working on the lock. The door was old and rusty. It should have been easy. But the lock resisted, as if something was holding it from the other side. "More strength!" I shouted. The saw groaned, sparks flying, and then, finally, the lock gave way with a metallic snap. The door opened. The prisoner staggered out, coughing. "Thank you, thank you. Go up the stairs, down, and exit the building," Morrison ordered. The man waved and ran down the hallway, but as he walked past me, I swore I heard for just a second a different voice escape him. Deep, guttural, ancient. Finally, we freed the second cell, then the third. The prisoners rushed out, all coughing, some with burns, but they all had that look, that strange gleam in their eyes, as if they knew something we didn't. Team Bravo, how's the situation?" Morrison called on the radio. We have a problem here," the trembling voice of the Bravo leader replied. "The prisoners on the west side don't want to leave." "What do you mean they don't want to leave? The place is on fire." "They're singing, Captain. Everyone in the cells, singing the same thing. I can't understand the language, but it's not human. The sound isn't human." Then I heard it, echoing off the walls, coming from somewhere deep within the prison, a chant, multiple voices in unison but out of tune, distorted. The words were indistinguishable, but the sound made me feel as if worms were crawling under my skin. "Ignore them and remove them by force, if necessary," Morrison ordered, but his voice was faltering. We reached cell 347, the last one before the burning corridor. Through the smoke, he could see the shape inside, large, motionless. "Last cell," I announced. "Let's get him out and get this shit out of here." The saw cut through the lock more easily that time. The door creaked as it opened. The cell was dark, darker than it should have been. My flashlight didn't seem to penetrate the darkness completely. "Sir, we need to evacuate him," I called. Nothing. "Sir!" Then the figure moved, emerging from the shadows, and when the light finally reached it, my blood froze. It was enormous, almost 2 meters and 10 centimeters tall. The sign on the door read, "Ezekiel Crow, life sentence. Multiple murders. Warning, extremely dangerous." But it wasn't his size that terrified me. It was his eyes, completely black, like the ones I'd seen before, and his hands. God, his hands were covered in fresh blood, his nails chipped and broken, as if he'd been scratching the walls for hours. And he was smiling, the widest, most impossible smile I had ever seen. The corners of his mouth stretched far beyond what was humanly possible, tearing the skin at the edges. "Thank you," he said, and his voice was like glass being ground. "You have no idea what a favor you did, what a gift you gave us." "Get out now," I ordered, trying to keep my voice steady. He took a step forward, and I noticed the chains. He was still chained to the wall, thick iron chains that ran from his wrists and ankles to rings embedded in the concrete. These chains, he looked down, amused. Father Miguel put them on in 1889. He knew what I was, what all of us were. That's why he built this special block. These cells, these chains are blessed to keep us contained. "What are you talking about?" Jake whispered beside me. Ezekiel laughed, and the sound echoed unnaturally, multiplying as if dozens of voices were laughing together. "This place isn't your average prison, fireman. It's a containment facility. Blackwater was built on sacred ground, or rather, over a portal that needed to be sealed. And for 134 years, they kept the worst of us locked up here, not because we were criminals." He leaned forward as far as the currents would allow, "but because we were possessed." My heart raced. "You're crazy, crazy." He tilted his head in a way no human head should tilt. "The fire wasn't an accident, Richard. It was an invitation. Do you think centuries-old locks stop working on their own? Do you think we came to you? No, you came to us. You opened the doors. You broke the seals. Its chains rattled. And now we are free. A crack, loud, metallic. I looked down. One of the rings on the wall had come loose. "No," I murmured. "Dan, no, no, no!" Crack. Another ring. "Run!" Morrison shouted. I didn't need to hear it twice. We turned and ran down the corridor, our lamps swaying, creating dancing shadows. Behind us, I heard the sound of breaking metal. Then, heavy footsteps, impossibly fast. And then the laughter, that terrible laughter, multiplied 1,000-fold, as if all the condemned men of Blackwater were laughing together. We reached the stairs and tumbled down the steps, hands on the railings, feet slipping. The heat was unbearable now. The fire had spread, following us. "Team Bravo, evacuate immediately!" Morrison yelled into the radio. "Get out of the building now!" Just static in response, and screams, always screams. Second floor. Something was wrong. The cells that had been empty on the way up were occupied. He could see figures in the shadows, clinging to the bars, watching, waiting, and they all had those eyes, black, empty eyes. "Don't look," Jake gasped beside me. "Don't look at them." But I looked. I couldn't help it, and I saw dozens of them, hundreds, in every cell, faces pressed against the bars. Some looked human, others were nightmares. Skeletal skulls, rotting flesh, mouths overflowing with teeth, eyes in the wrong places. And they all whispered the same thing: "Freedom, freedom, freedom." First floor. The front door was in sight. The red and blue lights of the emergency vehicles streamed through it. Salvation, safety. We ran. God, how we ran. I was 3 meters from the door when Jake screamed. I turned around. He had stumbled, fallen, and emerging from the shadows behind him, Ezekiel. But it was no longer Ezekiel. Not completely. The thing that had been a man was now something else. The skin was cracked, revealing something beneath, something black, lustrous, with too many eyes, too many limbs. I ran back, grabbed Jake by the arm, and pulled him up. The creature advanced. Morrison shot at her with the fire extinguisher, then with the axe. But the blade just went through, as if it were cutting through smoke. "Doors!" someone shouted. "The doors are closing!" The main doors of Blackwater were closing, slowly, inexorably. As if the building itself was trying to keep us inside, everyone ran. A desperate race. The creature's footsteps behind us, the heat of the fire above, the metallic creaking of the doors. Morrison went first, then me, then Jake. The doors slammed shut behind us with a boom that shook the floor. We collapsed onto the grass outside, breathing heavily, tearing off our masks. The cold night air had never felt so sweet, but the nightmare was not over. I looked back at Blackwater, and I saw through the narrow windows dozens of faces watching us, hundreds, pressed against the glass, all with those dark eyes, and everyone was smiling. "Where is Team Alpha?" I asked. "And Team Bravo?" Morrison shook his head, tears streaming down his face. They didn't answer. 6 men, 6 firefighters had entered Blackwater with their teams. Nobody had left. Police sirens rang out, FBI trucks, even helicopters. Blackwater was completely engulfed in flames now, lighting up the night sky like a gigantic bonfire. "Sir," one of the guards approached Morrison. It was the grey-haired man who had grabbed me earlier. "You need to know something." "What?" "The 18 prisoners you rescued from Block D." My stomach churned. "What's wrong with them?" The guard swallowed hard. "According to our records, those 18 died years ago, some decades ago. They were dead, Captain, dead and buried." "That's impossible," I murmured. "We see them. We touch them." "Those weren't them you saw," the guard whispered. "Those were the things that inhabited them. And now," he gazed into the darkness beyond the forest, "now they're out there, free." Blackwater burned for 3 days and 3 nights. When it finally went out, nothing remained but charred ruins. The bodies of Alpha and Bravo teams were never found. The 18 prisoners we rescued disappeared. They simply vanished into thin air. Police, FBI, marshals, no one found them. But the deaths began. A week later, a family was massacred in Denver. The father was found with an impossible smile on his face, murmuring in dead languages. 2 weeks later, a massacre at a school in Oregon. The shooter had completely black eyes. A month later, 7 disappearances in a single night in Miami. The government kept quiet, of course. Blackwater was officially declared an industrial disaster. The 6 firefighters who died were heroes who perished fighting a fire. But I know the truth. We didn't just open the cells that night. We opened a portal, and 18 demons, imprisoned for over a century, now roam free across America. I'm not a firefighter anymore. I can't. Every time I see fire, I see those faces, those eyes. Emma is still 7 years old. She still wants to be a ballerina. She still laughs innocently and sweetly, but sometimes, late at night, I wake up and see her standing in the doorway of the room, just watching. And for a brief second, just a second, I swear her eyes go completely black. Then she blinks, smiles, and becomes my daughter again. But I know they're not finished. That this is just the first move in a much bigger game. And whenever I read about an unexplained crime, a brutal murder, a mysterious disappearance, I wonder, could it have been one of them? Did I open the door for that one too? And how many more doors need to be opened before everyone is freed? These are the questions that keep me awake at night. And now, you who have heard me, these questions will haunt you too. Because the truth is this: Blackwater wasn't the only place of containment. There are other places, other prisons, other doors, and they all have locks. They all need keys. And sometimes the keys take the form of well-meaning people, just trying to do their job. People like me, people like you. So, the next time you hear an emergency call, a cry for help from a place that seems wrong, ask yourself, are you going to rescue someone? Or are you the one who's going to open the door?